Here we go. All right, guys, welcome to the Mad Maker Show. We have as moderator Jamie Page.
How you doing, everybody? Obviously, you just said my name's Jamie Page. You can find me all my social media links at makersinternationalpodcast.com.
Today, guys, we have the extreme pleasure of interviewing Bobby Duke of Bobby Duke Arts. Say hey.
Hey, hey everybody. Sorry, missed my cue.
So, guys, we're going to have a bunch of questions. If you have questions, feel free to ask them, post them over there in the chat, and JP will be talking to you. I do want to mention a couple of things. We have, the show is about makers, obviously, but the idea, there's a spirit behind it, or at least I'd hope that to be the case. Mad makers, I believe that every maker has a slight, they're off slightly, right? So that's how come the name. Now, this is not a shot at Bobby Duke here or anybody, but we were talking behind the scenes, and he kind of agrees. We'll see how much of that is true in the interview or not. I know that JP is crazy. Is that a fact, JP?
Oh yeah, without doubt.
So after all these shows are done, these live shows, I go and pull out excerpts of the interview and questions and responses, and I upload them to my website, and that website is Rockin' WOODWORKS, and maybe JP will add the link to that. We want to sort of cross-pollinate, you know, and we want to add people to the roster as we go, and have the interviews word-wise written down, pictures, and just make it a nice, exciting thing, you know, tapestry of ideas that come out of these exceptional, you know, people with skills that well, we're pretty curious about. So if you'll do that, JP, I appreciate it. And let me see what else here. Oh, I do want to thank Brian McKnight for sponsoring us on Patreon. So thank you, Brian. And lastly, we do want to shout out Harneal Media. Those people over at Harneal, they're the ones that do our website work, and they do website work for makers. So if you're looking for a website, you need help with that, Harneal Media will post links as well for them. So anyhow, Bobby Duke, can you give us a little bit of, just a little bit about yourself, you know, to start off?
All right, I guess for background, well, I was born in Georgia, moved to Fort Worth, Texas when I was really young, and from there, my parents decided to homeschool me, so I've been homeschooled my whole life. You know, all of my schooling has none of it's been done in kind of a private or public school. From elementary through high school, I was homeschooled completely. So that gave me a lot of interesting opportunities, perspectives. You know, that people always ask me, so do you like it? You know, what's it like? I'm like, well, I don't have any other reference point, you know, other than that. So it's let me, I think, develop, I think, my true personality instead of trying to figure out what everybody else wanted from me by peer pressure and all that other stuff that I'm assuming comes from the schooling. I don't know. I think it did me some good. I think it. But so, anyways, that's that part of my life. Let's see. I've done a lot of different things in my life as far as work and jobs, and I was a truck driver for about 10 years. Before that, I did some cabinetry stuff. I did tree trimming. I actually quit my job as a truck driver to pursue selling roofs, or roofs, however you say it. I know there's what, like orange and you know, tomato.
Rough.
But anyways, you say rough?
No, I'm kidding.
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
We say aluminium here in Florida, and it's strange because here in Florida we say aluminium, and they do the same thing over there in England. So
really?
Yeah, it's just,
I didn't know you guys said that over there. That's crazy.
No, no.
Huh. Oh, I was like, man, I'm really out of touch with what's going on in the world in my own country. Anyways, so that's what I'm doing right now. Trying to think of more interesting things. Done all kinds of weird stuff. Did team roping and bull riding at one point. As far as art background, is that where you wanted this to go?
Well, whatever you'd like to add to that. I have a lot of questions coming for you.
Okay, okay. Well, I can ramble, so stop me.
Well, you said you were born in Georgia, but you're in Texas now. How did that happen? Why why the move to Texas?
Well, my dad went and got his master's, or no, he graduated and got his master's, and then got a job working here in software development. Just a good job. So he moved from Athens. Well, first it was Athens is where I was born, and then Atlanta, and then from Atlanta moved to DFW because of my dad's job. So
Gotcha.
I've been here from about age 4 up until now. So I'm still in Fort Worth.
Well, so years ago, and I don't know exactly the time, but I ran across your videos. I don't think you know that, but they're out.
I didn't know.
They're out there. Yeah, I ran it because I've always been interested in, and a lot of people are, in carving, wood carving, all the techniques involved and stuff. And you've been doing it for a pretty, long while, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, more seriously within the past few years, but I mean, I've been doing sculpture and wood carving since I was little, but there's been big gaps in between from when I was, doing it on a regular basis until, I'd kind of like just lose the passion or get other interests and then pick it back up. I always come back to art. It's kind of the one passion that I never get completely, tired of.
Yeah, that one thing I do see, I see it all as art and all woven together, as opposed to, I know there's many different disciplines and stuff, but I anytime I see a woodworker, like you could say just woodworker, it categorizes under art, one level or the other. But you do have you do have a touch, with your work, and so why wood carving? I mean, where's your mind in that? I mean, why wood carving? Why did you go in that direction? And sculptures, for that matter, just that whole direction.
I mean, I started with clay a long time ago. Had an art teacher for a while, Judy Sager. She's also local out of Fort Worth, and she taught me basic techniques, of sculpture and three-dimensional art. And I don't know, I like the additive sculpting, but I just found, I don't know, something about wood in general. It's beautiful. It smells nice when you're working with it, depending on the species. Like, I'm not a big fan of walnut, but anyways, it just appealed to me. The seeing something that's just a chunk of something and taking away all the negative space to reveal the piece inside, the cliche of the piece has always been there, I'm just removing all the excess. But I still like sculpting with clay. I do it occasionally. I have more carving than I do clay sculpture pieces that I've done, but I don't know, it's two totally different things. But I got more into wood carving after I started working with wood, like professionally. I used to build cabinets, like high-end cabinets, and I was always around wood and working with it, and I'd take home the cutoffs or pieces that they'd throw away and make some stuff out of it. Like, I've made some jewelry boxes, and yeah, I guess that's kind of how I got into wood, and I don't know. There's just something about it. The grain. Like, I actually hate painting wood. I think that the natural grain and beauty of it is just as much an art as what I'm doing, or more sometimes.
So oh, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Well, so, like, in your videos, you actually go through, I mean, you go through the process of what you do, and one could see, get inspired, and if you're so inclined, you could try and reproduce, you know, the steps and come out with something. And I think you kind of put it out there for people to sort of understand the process. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I show the steps, and I try to make it entertaining. And I don't know, there's so many tutorials out there, and I do tutorials, but I don't know, I try to also, I've been learning editing as I go, you know, editing videos, and I try to make it interesting for me while I'm editing it, kind of selfishly sometimes, and also treat the editing process as just another outlet for art, you know. If you can make because the way I see it, editing can make or break a video. You can have a great subject, but if your editing sucks and is just uninteresting, then it can kind of kill it, you know, kill the mood or excitement that you want to generate. So I try to put as much information in there that people that are observant can pick up, you know, what I'm doing and then emulate it. That's the videos that are not specifically tutorials.
Well,
yeah.
let me. So I'll say, it's kind of an uncomfortable question, slightly. But how many do you think you've affected people through posting these awesome videos?
You froze. If you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Oh, did you hear me, JP?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
So as
start over.
So as I was mentioning, how many people do you think you've affected out there in a positive way with your videos? I know it sounds like you know, oh me, but I want to know, do you think you've had an impact? Do you see people, you know, typing and saying, "Hey, dude, wow, badass"?
Yeah, I mean the ratio of negative feedback I get to positive, it's almost, I almost wonder why I don't get more negative feedback. It's almost all positive. Occasionally there's somebody that's trolling or whatever, but pretty much everybody seems to like what I'm doing. So I would say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, not to sound braggy, my channel's just under 8 million views. So I'm sure, I mean, I would like to think that, you know, a good percentage of that, you know, enjoyed what they saw and were impacted in a positive way. You know, well, I hope that.
I'm going to interrupt here. Well, just me personally, there's one project that you've done.
Awesome,
and they
man.
were bought because of another project you did.
Cool. Well,
I'd say you've influenced, well, my wallet, for instance, for one reason. But yeah, I mean, these little hooks. I mean, I believe Doc just made one as well for his boy.
Yeah.
So a few people started doing them as well, and I think you were one of the first people to start doing them as well. To be honest, you're certainly one of the first people I saw making them.
Yeah, I didn't see anything ahead of time, and that was one of the reasons I decided to do it. Was I was like, you know, I'm driving my semi truck, trying to think of ideas for a new video, and I just seen the movie Moana, and the hook stood out, and I was just thinking, man, it's supposedly made out of the jawbone of Maui's mother, so, but wood is, you know, but it's carved, so, I mean, if you go to the actual story, that's kind of what the story progression is, as I know it, anyways. So I thought wood, and I can paint it to make it look like that, and it just seemed like kind of a perfect fit, and I knew that I didn't have a lot of money, so I wanted to do it on a budget, which I think also can appeal to people, you know, laminating the 2x4s, because like I said, I think the entire project start to finish cost me maybe, I mean, $50, and that includes all the glow-in-the-dark paints and the everything. So
wow,
I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I just wanted to showcase what I could do with not much, and you know, that's kind of why I did it.
That's actually really cheap for what you actually got out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 2x4s down here, I think they were about $2.85 a piece, and I was real efficient with my cuts and utilized as much of the 2x4 as I could. So I think the first one only took I mean, I can't remember the exact number, but only like 3 or 4 2x4s.
Mm.
You know, the most expensive thing was the glow-in-the-dark paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you guys that I don't know too many people that haven't seen those hooks, but let's get into that a little bit. I'm gonna share the screen and show some of the. Maybe you can give us a.
I'll post Bobby's channel over in the chat.
What's that?
I've just posted Bobby's channel over in the chat.
Awesome. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna screen share.
Whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah.
It was like zooming off into infinity.
Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
This is insane, dude.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see
this
it.
is trippy beyond trippy. So, okay, so just could you go through the process for us? In a condensed way or whatever you want to point out, but like from the beginning to the. I mean, to me, it's out of hand, dude. Just a total trip.
Cool. As far as the process of how I made it?
Well, yeah, if you want, whatever you're comfortable with, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you haven't seen the video, basically I took I just did some Google searches on the image and found an image with the right perspective and as face on as I could get, because most of them they're like turned slightly or whatever. I wanted it to be a nice silhouette shot of the whole thing. That way I could draw an outline to then get a pattern. And I just blew it up to ridiculous scale in Paint, Microsoft Paint, and literally tried to figure out on average how tall Maui's was and then how tall the hook was compared to his size. And a lot of people comment they think it's too big. But if Maui was a real person, he would have been like 7 feet tall. If you compare his size to Moana's, which I figured up the average size of a girl, her age would have been around 5 feet or something like that. Anyways, he's like 2 feet taller than her. So I tried to make it to scale as if Maui, the cartoon character, was a real person. And so it's actually a little bit small. But the whole thing overall was a little over 6 feet, I think. And so I blew up the picture to a ridiculous amount and then just printed off, on regular paper from my printer, each segment, and then taped them all together to create one giant contiguous image of it, which then I drew on the picture, on the printout, I drew a system of lines that represented 2x4s. So I knew how long each cut was supposed to be. And then just literally glued all those pieces together to create enough wood in the shape of a hook that I could then, and this is before I had a bandsaw. So all the edges, the curves, I tried to get as close to the line with a chop saw. That way I would have little or less carving to do with the angle grinder, which I have like an angle grinder. By the way, in the original video, I had a really old Harbor Freight angle grinder. And if you look closely at the angle grinder, I have a clamp as the handle because the original handle broke off. So I have a clamp clamped to the angle grinder with this super aggressive, it's like a chainsaw, circular chainsaw. It scares me, honestly.
Did you stack? So are these 2x4s stacked in just a big like board together, or they're stacked up? And how exactly did you glue them up?
They're up and down. So to get the width I needed, which a standard 2x4 is 3.5 inches here instead of 4, but so that leads to another part. But so they're stacked vertically, one after the other, and sandwiched together, and then in the hook shape, and then carved with the angle grinder. And I literally, just to get it down to the line, I had to take all that wood off with the angle grinder versus band sawing it out. Then just carved it.
Go ahead.
I did bulk up the fattest part bottom part of the curve with like a Bondo wood filler stuff. It's like a epoxy wood filler. And yeah, where the two faces are and the hand, that is actually bulked out to increase its girth, to use a better, to not know a better word. Because I just wanted it to be proportional in all directions, no matter how you turned it. That's what. If
you're talking about this here.
No. If you go down to the very base, the very fattest part, where the faces are, those two faces, if you can see the eyes and the mouth and the curly bits, and then there's a hand.
They're facing each other.
Okay.
Yeah, they're two faces with their mouths, mouth to mouth, facing each other, and then there's a hand. So the biggest part of the hook, that was the width or the thickness was extended using a two-part filler.
So like a Bondo.
And yeah, it's a Bondo wood filler. I guess that didn't come through, but yeah. Everyone asks if it's peanut butter because it's kind of a peanut butter color.
Right.
And just to let everyone know, it's not peanut butter. I've been asked that hundreds of times. Is that peanut butter? No, it's not peanut butter. Anyways, then I just carved the designs with a Dremel and a, kind of like tattooing. I used to be a tattoo artist. I didn't mention that.
You trimmed your beard and cut your hair in this one.
Yeah.
And put some clothes on.
Oh, the other picture. Obviously, that's not my hair. I'm wearing a wig.
Oh no.
You can tell that, right?
Wait a second. You didn't grow this out? You didn't grow this out for the picture?
No, but I wish I had hair like that, because if you look, it goes like almost down to my waist.
That's great.
I actually still have that wig. And there's been surprisingly little offense taken. I didn't mean it as being offensive. I've had a couple people bring it up and cultural appropriation and all that stuff, but it's like, look, I'm cosplaying a Disney character.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm not trying. In fact, I have great respect for all the Pacific Islander people and cultures, and that's one of the reasons why I continued making these hooks, and it's inspired totally off of their art. I don't know. Yeah, like this is a way for me to make a version that won't get me into trouble with Disney, because I contacted Disney's licensing department. They wouldn't give me a license to make them the original hook, because I think it's their design. I don't even know for sure, but they're going to tell me no anyways, just because they want to protect everything super vigorously.
What's up with,
yeah,
so what's up with the well, go ahead, finish that, but I want to ask you about this next here. Go ahead.
Just saying, so I did a little more research into the more traditional shape, which has the backward curving hook part. Honestly, I think it looks like a shark's tail, so that's why I thought adding a hammerhead or marine animals, and plus they're island people, they are around that kind of environment all the time, and this was my homage to their culture,
It's
making
beautiful.
these style hooks and everything. So yeah, that's as close as I could get to the design without sweating, raising the ire of Disney.
So how about the glow in the dark? Can you tell us about that? What you used and all?
Yeah, I keep meaning to post the brand, and it's just a glow-in-the-dark paint that had really high ratings on Amazon, and it seemed to be one of the brighter glowing, and it comes in a pack of different colors. And after I carve all the little designs into the hook, then I go back literally with a cattle syringe, syringe made to give cows medicine. And I just blunt the tip so I don't poke myself and inject myself glow-in-the-dark paint. And then I just, draw it up and individually squirt it into every single carving, and changing the colors depending on what I want as I go.
Very nice.
So I would like to do maybe something in the future where it would be LEDs glowing inside. That way you could just flip a switch because these do have to be exposed to UV light to charge up. If you know how glow-in-the-dark paint works, you know you need to hold it out in the sun or under a UV light and then turn the lights off, and then it starts to glow, and it'll glow for a while, but eventually it'll go back down to, you know, not glowing. Yeah, that's another one. Same principle, same method too. It's all laminated 2x4s, pine 2x4s, the cheap ones. Which honestly, I've changed my the wood that I use to cedar 2x4s because the grain is much more even. There's way less knot holes. Because, dude, excuse me. If while you're carving this stuff and the changes in the density of the wood, going from really soft to rock hard knot hole, it's just hard to get a nice, perfectly smooth curvatures and everything. What I want to present, anyways, it's hard to do that. So that's why I switched up. This was actually made with 2x4s, backlit with LEDs that are glued all over the back. That yeah, so
very nice
LEDs
and
glow in the dark.
What do you use for? So when I look at your videos, you have this disc on your. It looks like a rasp. I have one from Harbor Freight. I don't know if you're using the same one. I'm sure you're using something else. But what do you use on your angle grinder to shave this off and mold it?
Can I just quickly interject? We've got a comment from Bales. He says, Bobby, check out EL wire. You could easily run that inside of the hooks.
Nice.
EL wire?
Yeah.
EL wire. I'm going to write it down.
And what is it? Just a thin LED?
EL wire. Sorry, my pencil's not working. Anyways, I could probably go back in the comments, right, and look.
Oh, I see what it is. It's like a really thin, flexible LED tube.
Huh. EL wire. Yeah, I've been. I need to do more research into that. I like LEDs. I like stuff that you can change its appearance, and not just be completely static. Excuse me. Something about being able to, in different lighting and different, I don't know. Yeah, when you turn the lights off, and I like things to glow in the dark. If you haven't noticed, I think everyone does.
Yeah,
I do too. Hell yeah.
But,
so what do you?
Yeah,
what's that disc that you use?
Oh yeah, I use a couple different ones depending on what I'm. Sorry, my dog's playing with a squeaky toy right now. Patrick.
Good boy.
Okay. Yeah, he's the dog that makes an appearance on a lot of my videos. Okay, the disc I use to take off wood very aggressively. I use a disc that it's literally a chainsaw blade attached to itself in a circle. So, and I have to sharpen it with chainsaw files and everything. So that one is scary because it can grab and suck itself in or kick if it hits a knot, just like a real chainsaw. So I use the guard and the handle for that one because I've had a couple of close calls and one nick on that, it would send me the hot. But the other one is like I think it's brazed tungsten carbide chips onto a disc. And then I also use flap discs, or the flap sanders,
at the end
for angle grind.
At the end?
Huh? Yes. But like in the most recent video, the Majora's Mask, I only used the less aggressive, the safer disc. By the way, all of these I get at Harbor Freight.
That's what I wanted to ask you because I've got the brass one, right? But the chainsaw.
Yeah,
one,
the brass colored one.
Yeah, the brass colored one, and I think it's fantastic. But it leaves whatever you're shaping, it leaves it pretty, a lot of fibers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It depends on the wood too. But honestly, the chainsaw one is even worse. I mean, it just chews the wood off. But that's the thing is with carving for me, it's all about just refining the shape further and further and further, because it starts off as just a chunk of wood or a pencil. And then you just keep on bringing it closer and closer until eventually you have to just tell yourself to stop, because most of my projects, I probably, almost all of them, there's something that bothers me about them, but I just don't keep on going because I would never stop trying to make it perfect. So I've had to learn to tell myself when to stop sanding or polishing or, you know, what, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I think we're all afflicted. No, I think we're all afflicted with that, actually.
Yeah. There's a point where you have to just say it's good enough, because I don't think I've ever been 100% satisfied with anything. I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I am really satisfied with this.
Tell us a little bit about it, because it's insane.
I don't know if you can see it. This thing? No, not the pencil.
No.
This.
We'll get to that in a sec, but we're screen sharing. So. Yeah, the pencil.
Okay, yeah, the pencil. What do you want to know about it? It was really small and very fragile, and I actually did for real break it on the first round. Yeah, in the video, I'm like, and here's the tricky part, and then I go and you know, because I break it in the video. Well, thank you, my good man. Yeah, so I did break it, and I did have to do it again. But it's just being very careful, and I really did have to wear my glasses. So, yeah, I try to add some real truth to most of my videos. By the way, that was fishing line. I just lowered the glasses down in front of my face. You know, these glasses.
We're still screen sharing the pictures here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a moron.
We've got this. I think this is polymer clay, or no?
Yeah, that's Sculpey. I think it's Sculpey medium is what I use to do that. The Heavy.
Well, dude, how do you get that smooth? I mean, you can shape. You know, you shape and you get to a point. But how do you get it? Do you water it, or what? What do you do?
Well, at a certain point, there are tricks to smooth it out using isopropyl alcohol, or some people use lighter fluid. There's some other things you can use, but really, I don't worry about it too much. I try to blend pieces together so they're structurally sound. Like, say I need to add the ears, and I want there to be a nice, good joint. Then I'll try to smooth just to really mix the clay together to make sure it's not going to break off. But then after I get to a certain point, I treat it like wood. And then I sand it, I carve it with carving tools, with a rotary carver. I use whatever tools. I mean, I literally have, and this is funny, I have a set of snake probes that I use as my primary sculpting tools. They're reptile sexing probes. I know that sounds weird, and it is weird, but in order to sex a reptile, to determine its sex, you need to probe, and they make perfect sculpting tools. So I use those, but I also have lots of reptiles, so I have a set that I actually have to use sometimes on reptiles. Snakes.
Nice.
I got a lot of, yeah, I used to breed ball pythons, mutations, crazy patterns and colors and stuff like that.
I had a friend that owned snakes, and well, I worked in the Everglades too, so we had snakes over there. But I remember my friend's snake got a disease where they had like these under the scales, like ticks getting in there. Mites.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that you're talking in the past tense. That you said you had a friend that worked with snakes.
Well, he's not around anymore, actually.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, unfortunately. So yeah, so JP, any questions in the chat?
The chat seems to be going pretty slow, to be honest. It seems to be going a bit far behind where we are now.
Oh, are they asking questions about past topics? Move me.
Let's go on a minute. It's starting to catch up. They're talking about. Oh, Peter Passu did a video on it. They're talking about them lights at the moment. EL wires, electroluminescent wire. Oh, they're talking about can't get enough graphite in your olives. Try the new penciled toothpick sword.
Not enough graphite in your olive. That's good.
Is that Pikachu's mulatto cousin?
No.
Oh, there we go. Question from Matt Huss from Awesome Fun Things this time. Is that the product he used to sculpt epoxy putty?
Is he asking if the Sculpey is an epoxy putty?
I guess so, yeah.
Like to do the EV sculpture? No, that's an oven bake polymer clay. It works just like, honestly, it works a lot like plasticine, which is an oil-based clay. It depends on how hard the clay is you get. Some of it's like medium density, others are real hard, others are soft. But you just bake it in your oven. It's just an oven bake, and it turns into almost like a plastic or a really dense vulcanized rubber, sort of.
Okay.
Kind of that consistency.
Have he said what were the green shorts made of?
The green the grass skirt?
I guess so.
Like in the Maui hook video?
Yeah.
That was I just bought a grass skirt on Amazon. It's like made out of like fake plant leaves. So I think it's made out of plastic.
Okay, and I've actually got a question. What is the name of that lizard that you've got? I don't think there's a lot of people that don't know you've actually got a giant, I don't know, thing.
It's like a miniature velociraptor. Or are you talking about the gecko or the chameleons?
I don't know. It's like a giant. I don't know. It's like a horse.
It's not that big. That's Joanna. From I named her that off of because of the movie Rescuers Down Under, and the bad guy, his pet is an Argus monitor lizard, and it's an Australian species of monitor lizard, and that's what they used to draw the caricature, and her name is Joanna, and so she was my favorite character. I got an Argus monitor. I just figured I had to name her Joanna.
Yeah. Because she doesn't seem to like you very much, does she?
No, well, monitors don't tend to like anybody. I mean, she tolerates me because I feed her.
Yeah, I'm
but
like
as soon as she eats,
I'm like that with people.
huh? Yeah, yeah, you tolerate people that feed you. That's basically. But then as soon as she eats, she's back to vicious, crazy dragon lizard. She'll whack me with her tail and claw at me, and I literally have to wear these big gloves and a full long sleeves. I try to anyways. I've been thinking about getting a face shield too, because she'll launch herself out as soon as I open the cage lid. Because every time I open the cage lid, whether it's to change her water or feed her, she always thinks she's getting fed, and she's hungry all the time. So she'll launch herself, and I'll have to like block my face. She'll land on my glove, and then I have to immediately feed her a few things to like sate her, and then she'll calm down, and I can put her down or whatever. But yeah, she's definitely not tame, and probably never will completely tame.
Yeah,
it's just the way they are, kind of like
we've got
most carnivores.
We've got a serious question from over in the chat now from Mr. Sterling Davis. He says, what inspires you as an artist to make and create what you do? You have such a wide range of creativity.
What inspires me? Well, a lot of things inspire me. sometimes, you know, this just keeps popping into my head every time I do another pop culture thing. The saying that good artists copy and great artists steal. Seems, you know, I basically take someone else's design and either turn it real or, you know, that for that kind of stuff. So the stuff that's not my own inspiration, I think it's pretty simple where the inspiration comes. It's their inspiration that I'm using to then be inspired by, you know, what they've originally either drawn or whatever. But other pieces, original, a lot of times it just comes from just starting, just getting a piece of clay and mushing it around until I see a shape, you know, until pareidolia takes over and I start to see something in the shape like you would a cloud. And then I just go off that, you know, or I'll start doodling something on the paper, like with my letter openers or the swords that I make and stuff. Just start drawing, and if shapes come out of it I like, then maybe I'll turn them into a carving or a sculpture. But, you know, it just a lot of thinking, you know. I'll just try to think, what can I do that's interesting that I want to do, you know.
I couldn't agree.
And it switches. Cool. Yeah, it's kind of the thing you're doing as you're doing it is what then can inspire you to take it somewhere completely new.
Yeah, I agree with that point of like what you said. I don't like U2 as a band, but they have a lyric in a song that says every artist is a cannibal, every poet is a thief.
Yeah.
All steal their inspiration and sing about their grief. So, you know, even like in music, and it's a derivative. But once somebody touches something and they bring it into themselves and they try to reproduce it, in my belief, it becomes whatever that inspiration was, plus the person making it. And I don't know how much originality, like pure original thought from the beginning, from nothingness, actually, I could be wrong, but actually exists. What do you think about, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, the things that I try to represent, to copy, basically, like Eevee, Mewtwo, the Hook, Majora's Mask, and I'm trying to think there's probably some more. You know, I try to represent them as accurately as I can. So I'd say, I mean, I'm inspired to make it by the original design, but as far as having it turn into something that I could call my own, I don't really feel like I can take credit for any of that. You know, I mean, I'm writing on their creative back. You know, like Eevee, I went off of pictures, just different pictures. I even did some it's not Photoshop because I use paint, but like swapping heads out to one that I liked with a certain pose. So the exact version of Eevee, other than what I created, but all of the parts that I used to create Eevee weren't my own inspiration. So I don't know. I think a part of me is in every piece because I have my own style and I know it translates into each piece. But ultimately, I try to recreate something that already exists, you know, at least the design does. I don't think anyone had ever made a full-size hook, but I tried to make it as real to their design as I could. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If that was sufficient an answer.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, that makes total sense. But you also did mention that a part of you, you know, is, I mean, you built the darn thing. You know, it takes that labor and that learning. How do I get around this obstacle until you reach that, you know, that finished piece, you know, which is amazing.
So yeah, well, yeah, like I said, everything that I make has to have some of me in it because I made it. But I'm just talking about the original design because, like, I don't usually take original designs and tweak them enough to where they're mine and then try to call them mine unless they are truly my design. I just go for the full-on steel, You know, I don't just make it real. You know, someone else's brilliance that I then use to entertain myself by creating it and making it real. You know, I like doing that. You know, I don't have something. The whole I want that at the beginning of a lot of my videos is one. I didn't know how to, so I figured it out. And, I wanted an EV, and I wanted all the things that and I don't have a 3D printer, so I just make them. Kind of the way I solve that problem.
How do you feel about, you know, the electronic side of things? I personally, you know, I have my thoughts, but like CNC, duplicating things and all that, you know, within woodworking. You know how there's this whole, you know, pseudo debate, because frankly, it's a ridiculous thing. But CNC, would you ever want to have that to add to your collection of tools and implements?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because some of my projects, like especially an upcoming project, the one I've been working on forever, the Frostmourne sword from World of Warcraft. It has a lot of the same. It's almost symmetrical as far as one side the other. There's slight variances, but pretty much you flip it over, it's going to look the exact same. And I've sculpted or carved, you know, an entire skull that will be on one side, but it needs an identical one on the other side. So that would save so much time, and I think it would be interesting to be able to take something that I've created once. I don't think it really matters if you have a machine to bust out all the roughing out for you to then put in the fine details later. I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be awesome to be able to have something like that. It would speed things up, and it would, you know, be interesting. You know, and also the debate of people creating stuff in a virtual world, which then it uses a computer-controlled router to then produce it in the real world. It still takes an artist to create it in a virtual world. You know, they're just sculpting with a different medium, and then it's just using technology to make it a real thing. That's,
absolutely,
you know, outside of a computer. So yeah, those guys that can sculpt in a virtual world, they're sculptors just like me, you know.
So now deviating a little bit, but again, to me, it's all one thing. Just culturally, it could be TV, just throughout your past and stuff. What are the iconic music? You know, what kind of music do you listen to? What are there any influences from outside that you reach to that mold you, you know, as a person, that bring in that art into your work?
As far as I do listen to when I don't have the camera going and it's just a spot where I know I can just carve or do whatever without needing to record anything. I do crank up the music in my shop, and there's a lot of different things I listen to, but I'd say the biggest influence on me as far as music goes is, and I know not everyone likes them, but is Tool. The band Tool. I've always loved Tool since the first time I heard 46 and 2 when I was ripping some lumber down to size. I stopped my saw and could hear that bass line and was like, whoa, like what in the world is this? And this is before I had access to the internet and everything, so I remember I had to like wait till the end of the song for the DJ to say who it was. And then just ever since then, I've seen them, I think four times in concert. And
go ahead.
I was saying Tool. I love some of Bonobo, his stuff. Tycho. Those are more like digital sort of stuff, music. I love classical music. Also, I listen to that. I like 21 Pilots. They're a great band. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Dude.
They're awesome. But yeah, my daughters are really into it. My daughters have a bigger influence on me than I'd like to admit. But they introduced me to a lot of new music. One thing I won't ever ever probably get into is K-pop, just because it's just a genre I'm not into. Man, they are head over heels into K-pop. You'd probably be pissed at me for saying, I don't know. It's just a genre I probably will never get into. But yeah, they introduced me to 21 Pilots. They're just a young two guys. One's on drums, one's on oh, I used to be a drummer. I played in a Christian boy band for about 4 years. I was the drummer for them. It's called Destination Known. As far as the Christian music scene goes, we got kind of big, you know. I mean, we had a couple songs on the radio, and but Christian music a lot of times can only get so far, you know, as far as bands go. But that was a fun experience. I got to see a lot of the country, and we toured the U.S. and all that stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we had our own bus. Well, it was like a 15-passenger van and a trailer, and it was just me and 5 other guys, you know, driving around playing shows for churches and Christian camps and other just concerts and clubs, and we did that for a while. It was
Brian
cool.
Bales is challenging you to a drum off.
Well, I first need access to a drum set. I haven't played drums in a while, though. I really wish I had a drum set. Eventually I will. I just don't have the space. By the way, I see drums in the background. Eloy, do you play the drums?
Yeah, I play everything, but drums is probably really, really badly, like basic beats, but I have it so that I can add it to the songs I record and stuff. But let me tell you something.
Cool.
It would be cool if you and Bales would do a drum off, but it would be this is good. So you have split screen, you're here, Bales, and then you start and then and it just gets wilder and wild. That would be classic YouTube. Okay,
that'd be cool. I need to do a little bit of practicing.
And Bales
I still have some chops. It's just been a while.
I say Bale should make the Bobby Duke a drum kit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Have you seen Brian Bale's creative snares? All the different things that he does?
I don't think I have. I'll definitely have to check that out. That sounds interesting. So he makes them from scratch?
He's insane, right? He's psychedelic and surreal, and what he does is cement. Sure, we can make a snare out of cement. Let's do it.
That sounds familiar. I may have come across that video.
Yeah, Bales 2's an arsehole.
Whoa.
So I don't know.
So JP is JP forgot we're so are there any questions, JP? I have one more.
Yeah, I've got one more question actually, and it's going back to the making side rather than the musical side. And I want to touch one more question on the old rub and buff.
Okay.
And I just want to know where your mind was when you woke up one morning and thought, I could make something using a stone or a rock.
Well, during the summer, I live kind of out in the country, and there's a creek that is near our house that if you watch the video, I'm literally at that creek. And I was looking down at the ground. I keep my phone with me. By the way, every video I've ever shot has been shot on my cell phone.
Wow.
It's all, every bit of it. So I keep it with me, and just in case there's an opportunity or an idea or something like that. And I do a lot of random, like they call it B-roll, where you just, if you have an idea pop in your head, you just record it, or something I see, or there's a lot of stuff I don't have on my channel. That's just stuff I'll use eventually, maybe, you know? And I just was looking down thinking, I mean, there's so many of these rocks, I should be able to make something out of them. And I was like, hey, I got a grinder and what shape would be interesting or easy, to start off with, because I've only made one. I don't know. It was just walking around looking at the shapes. Some look like hearts, some look like, everything else. In fact, I have a lot of footage of another video of making different things with rocks, but I never completed the video. It's just kind of on hold at the moment. I got a lot of beginnings of videos that I've never finished, actually.
What software do you use for editing?
Was editing, it's called Vegas Pro 13, I think. Okay. I like it. Honestly, I haven't really used anything else, so it's really not too bad, the learning curve, but honestly, just hours and hours of editing. And I don't think people realize how much time goes into editing. Like, you know, hours and hours and hours of moving, you know, a 2-second clip, you know, finding that clip that you want out of the footage. And I'm bad. I don't storyboard anything. I just try to shoot as much of it as I think I should need. And then I just go back and let the ideas as I'm editing it, as like a artistic process, you know, on its own, you know. There's a lot of time. It's probably not the best and most efficient way of doing it, but
do you go when you record, do you let it run and just keep going, or do you, okay, I'm gonna do this, record it and stop and then move to the, or do you just let it run and you have tons of footage you have to edit?
I used to just let it run. In fact, I think I've got 15 hours of footage on the Frostmourne sword build. That's just video, and I'm not even done with the sword. So that is very daunting, you know, to import it all into your software and look at it and be like, where do I start? You know, like it's so much. But lately, I am a little bit more efficient with it, where I'm like, okay. And as I'm making it, I try to think ahead a little bit, like, okay, what kind of flow do I want this to have, or what do I at least want to capture? And I'll figure out how it'll go into the video later. So I'll do, you know, 30 seconds of something, and I may only use a second or two of the footage, depending on what it is. So I'm a little bit better about it now. So instead of 15 hours and 10 hours and like I used to have for almost each video, now it's about down to about 3 hours worth of footage that I record per video.
Wow, it's still a lot though, right? Well, I'm sort of gauging it with what I try to do, and 3 hours is still heavy duty.
Yeah,
for me.
And I'm sure I could get it down even further. I hate, and I don't hate it, I just breaking my flow to constantly thinking about the video and the camera angle, and if I'm got my elbow in the shot versus just creating, it's hard for me. I'm super compartmentalized, my brain. Like I can't multitask. If like I have to be thinking about the video and the shot I want to get, and I'll do something intentional. That's why I used to just let it roll, because I just want to make, you know, I just want to create something and not have to be hindered by the camera and all that other stuff. So that's why I have a lot more footage, I think, is because I'm not really thinking about it. A lot of times I'm like, oh crap, this has been on the whole time. You know, that's a huge file.
JP, do you have any final questions?
No, I've just shared the link again, and it's been sent out, and people have been subbed. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Bobby,
yeah,
are there any? I actually have more questions, but we're running short on time within the time frame. But I have actually a few more questions. I do want to, for the article on the website, I do want to ask you this question: the mask that you recently put out a video on. Can you tell us, you know, where that inspiration came from, and just a little bit of info on that? Because I think it's really an incredibly awesome, you know, mask. It's sort of African, or sort of.
It's actually from a video game.
Okay.
It's from Majora's Mask: Legend of Zelda. So Legend of Zelda is a video game. I don't know if you're aware of that, but
I actually, before you continue, it's ridiculous, but yes, I used to play that video game.
Okay.
Was that the one that would be on inside the dungeons, or no? Is that wrong? You know, at the doors.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you know, there's Link, and he's got his magic, his like sword, and there's a lot of. He's kind of an elf sort of person. Honestly, I haven't played the game much, but the only reason I know much about it is my daughter plays it. my youngest daughter, the one who's in the video, who I'm like, hey, Lila, what do you want for Halloween? You know, she's watching the thing. She plays the game all the time. And I literally am making that for her Halloween mask.
But is it the original Zelda? Because I'm talking about like the Nintendo NES from like 1980.
I don't think that. Yeah, it's a newer iteration of the game, and newer characters. I think. I mean, hardcore Zelda people. In fact, Wes, if he's out there, he could tell us because he's really into. He knows probably a lot more about Zelda than I do. Wes Swain, you know. Anyways, so I don't know if it's like in the original canon, but it's been brought into it later on. And I was thinking, I think the mask is literally supposed to be carved out of wood in the game.
Okay.
And it was a cool design that appealed to me, and I figured it was something I could tackle. And plus, my daughter wanted something cool for Halloween, so I literally, like in my other video where I carve a sword, like a wooden sword out of a 2x4, I'm actually carving that for my nephew and for his Halloween. So like I said, I try to add some real actual, it's not all just acting. I'm literally like, hey, what do you want for Halloween? You know, and I really am making it. She's going to wear it on Halloween. But yeah, it's just, it's also made out of the cedar.
Very nice. Very nice. And how you bowl out the inside of the mask and just everything. What a trip.
Yeah, and it actually has a scooped out spot for her forehead, and then the area for her nose is scooped out some more. So on the next video, I'm going to paint it. I'm going to make it as close to the video game as possible, but it's going to also have straps that'll fit on like a real mask and tiny little eye holes.
Very cool. So is there anyone that you'd like to shout out before we wrap up here?
Oh man. Well, it's hard for me to think. You put me on the spot. Well, I mean, besides Wes Swain, you know, he and I are doing a collaboration, the Frostmourne sword, which is going to be my most ambitious project, but he's tackling a lot of stuff that I couldn't do. He's doing the electronics, and there's an Arduino that is going to be controlling individually addressable LEDs. They're all on the inside, and he's 3D printing several pieces for it. I'm sure that I will think of tons and tons of people as soon as this is over.
Hey, dude, it's all good. Screw it.
Yeah. Maybe Cudgel. Cudgel, he's a friend of mine. I did another collaboration with him. He's got a pretty entertaining art.
Well, right on.
He's a YouTuber.
All right. So thanks, Bobby. I'm going to ask JP here. JP, any closing thoughts, shout outs? Where can we find you and what you do, dude?
You can, well, obviously, if you don't know now, I'm about to tell you, I'm part of I'm 1/5 of the Makers International podcast. We go live every Sunday at 4:30 Eastern Standard. This week we have Al's Hack Shack or Alex Halfpenny as a guest. So yeah, that's this Sunday live 4:30 Eastern on the Makers International podcast YouTube channel. So yeah, all my social media links can be found at makersinternationalpodcast.com, and I've got a website that's being sorted out now. So thanks to Steve Neal and Harnell Media for that.
Awesome. So guys, thank you all for participating. Bobby Duke, thank you very much for honoring us with your. Go ahead, dude.
Oh, I know who I want to shout out. My little brother Jackson Duke. He is who helped me edit all the first videos. And anytime I have an issue with something or learning something in software, he's always there. So Jackson, I don't know if he's watching, but that's a shout out for Jackson.
Well, awesome. So thanks again for coming on with us here. It's been a pleasure, dude. I'd like to thank everybody out there. And we'll catch you next time. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this in the beginning. Jamie Page, did I mention this in the beginning? Matt Haas, Awesome Wood Things, next week on this show, the Mad Maker Show. Did I mention that or not at the beginning?
No, you didn't.
I did not. Matt, I hope you're still there. I was going to mention it in the beginning, but we're mad. We're insane. You know, that's our escape route.
Actually, you asked me.
That's our excuse.
You asked me if I wanted a shout out, and that's actually just reminded me. Go to Awesome Wood Things and check out Matt Haas's Purple Rain video.
Yes.
Purple Rain.
Yes, it's awesome. And he's got a new channel. He's got a new channel as well. Yeah, you have to check out his new channel.
Awesome Fun Things.
Awesome Fun
Things. What?
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's another Matt Haas on YouTube called the Matt Haas Zone. I don't know if he's heard of him, but I'm pretty sure that guy's name will pop up if I try to go into YouTube YouTube and find him. He had a lawsuit with H3 Production. It was this big thing.
Oh,
crazy! But that's who I thought of when you said Matt Haas. I was like, no way, it's not the same guy.
This Matt Haas is awesome. You should check out his Awesome Wood Things and Awesome Fun Things, because he goes retro, right? And he makes it all incredible. So
cool.
I'm happy to see him next week. Thank you very much, Bobby Duke, Jamie Page, everybody out there. Catch you next time.